the All-Star Futures game here. A couple of Met prospects participated. Jonah Tong, who has been killing it in Double A Binghamton. He is the Mets' number 2 prospect, overall MLB number 59 prospect. He is the minor league strikeout leader this season, and he appeared in the game in the top of the second inning, and he had a 1-2-3 inning. He struck out one in his one inning of work. Of course, for those of you who don't know, Jonah Tong, 125 strikeouts in 78 and 2/3 innings for Double A Binghamton this season. So Tong looking really good. Had an impressive showing in the All-Star Futures game Sunday afternoon. The other Met prospect who played in the All-Star Futures game, Carson Benge. Benge played left field in the 5th inning. One at bat, flew out to left. At least he didn't strike out. Again, these All-Star games, you can't really judge much, whether it's the All-Star game itself or the Futures game, because most of these guys, the rosters are so loaded, and every team's got to have a representative, or in the case of the Futures game, every organization needs a representative. So these guys are even lucky if they get one at bat. But Jonah Tong, no, going up against the minors' best, and again the Futures game is interesting because they tend to mix levels. Carson Benge, of course, right now he's in Single A Brooklyn. Jonah Tong, Double A Binghamton. But the Futures game, you get guys in Single A, you get a couple of guys in Double A, and there's a little sprinkle of guys in Triple A in there. There was at one point former Met prospect Jared Kelenic, after he was already on the Mariners and had big league experience, was still in that year's Futures game after he got demoted to start the season when he had a cup of coffee his first year in Seattle. So he was in the Futures game after already having major league at bats. But really impressed with Jonah Tong this season. Carson Benge, of course, he is the Mets' number 3 rated prospect, overall MLB number 74. And again, the future looks bright for this Mets team. Many Mets of the past have showed out in the Futures game. Pete Alonso hit a towering home run when he was in the Futures game about 8 years ago. Who could forget in the Coors Field in 2021, or 22 rather, whichever one was in Coors Field. No, it was 2021. Sorry, when Francisco Alvarez hit a moonshot to the second deck in center field right center field, in Coors Field. So Mets historically have shown out in the All-Star Futures game, but again, neither here nor there. All right, so we're gonna get into. Also, before we get into some transaction injury news, the MLB draft was also a part of All-Star Weekend, and the Mets made their selection. The Mets have drafted and now have signed infielder Mitch Voit. Voit, of course, an infielder from the University of Michigan, selected with the 38th overall pick in the 2025 MLB draft. He will be available to the media tomorrow before the Mets take on the Cincinnati Reds at Citi Field. Again, he is the Mets' first-round draft pick this year. He's going to begin his career in rookie ball at Port St. Lucie. And again, Mitch Voit, 3 seasons at the University of Michigan. This season was his junior season. Started 56 games at second base, hitting .346. This season, he had 14 home runs, 40 walks, 14 steals, a slugging percentage of .668, OPS of 1.139. In his career at the University of Michigan, he hit .303, 127 runs scored, 46 doubles, 7 triples, 35 home runs, 138 RBI, and 19 steals in 169 career games. So, also, Voit was voted the Wisconsin Gatorade Baseball Player of the Year in 2022. So, Mitch Voit, third baseman. Mets kind of preparing for the future. I say preparing for the future because you got a young guy in Mark Vientos whose defense has not been great. Starling Marte, who's been DHing, aging now. I'd be surprised if he's even on the team past the trade deadline this year. Um, Mitch Voit, solid defensively from the tape that I've seen of him. Again, college baseball a bit different than Major League Baseball, or professional baseball, I should say. College baseball using aluminum bats, so there's more pop off the bat. But if you can field consistently in college baseball, where the exit velocities are higher, then I think it should translate to the MLB game. Um, I think Mitch Voit, this is a telltale sign of it, because third base, and let's not lie, third base since David Wright retired has been a struggle to fill. Todd Frazier did it for 2.5 seasons. I say that because 2018, 2019, and then he started 2020 with the Rangers, came back at the end of 2020. And then it's just been a who's who, a carousel of rotating folks. Brett Beatty, Eduardo Escobar at one point, um, Mark Vientos. I think the Mets here are trying to say that they've, at least as they think, have found the third baseman of the future. And again, you heard his college numbers. Oh, lifetime OPS in college of 1.139. Again, aluminum bat. But one thing you cannot coach and teach is raw power, ability to make contact. So we'll see how Mitch Voit does. As is with most typical top first round draft picks, he'll begin playing in the Mets minor league system before this MLB season is over. So he'll get a cup of coffee in the minors this year. And we've seen guys like, well, granted they're pitchers, but Paul Skeens was the number one overall draft pick in 2023. Made his debut in 24. Brewers Jacob Mizorowski. Say what you want about that kid getting an all-star selection, but Mizorowski, drafted in 24, makes his debut in 25, and 5 starts later, he's an all-star, which I heavily disagree with. But this is not a Brewers podcast, so I'm not going to get into it. But Mitch Voit, solid. I think it's a solid pick in the MLB draft.